Marky Worthington Podcast all day.
All day.
Dream by night.
Don't buy me a drink. Just give me $10.
All day.
Go down to the strip club with your floppy disk and turn it into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. You'll get fucking thrown out by Big Tony.
We're here to name names and make people feel more ashamed for shit that they're not proud of.
Don't blow it. Keep it simple. Count your money.
Oh, whatever it is.
We're on? Sweet.
Yeah, so this is going to be episode 85.
85.
Of the Marky Worthington Comedy Podcast.
Lovely.
And you might recognise the voice. We got Dom here.
I don't think you would, but apparently it's distinctive.
It is.
5 years ago you said you started, huh?
Yeah, 5 years.
Mark's got a document shredder in here, which is wise, because I just tend to soak my paper in the sink and then I rip it up downstairs in the bin. Because I am concerned about document safety as well. But he even ripped up a receipt before because it had your rewards card.
Yeah, so it doesn't extend just to name and address. It goes all the way down to any receipts that have my rewards card number or Flybuys card number. I rip that up and shred it.
Does Flybuys work?
Well, not really.
Because I heard it was just like you get nothing for Flybuys. But then again,
I think it's like... It pretty much means that every, I'm pretty sure that every $1,000 you spend, you get like $10 off. That's how stingy
off a
it is.
flight?
No, off your next shop. It's bullshit. But occasionally they'll do so you get like a point per dollar you spend, and after 1,000 points you get $10 off. But
I guess that's for
if you're going to do your shopping anyway, and they're going to track it anyway, I may as well every now and again
it's wise.
Get money off.
Well, especially deals like that. You imagine for somebody who's like, if you're doing the family shop, and you've got your routine set up, and you've got a family, and every week you're going down and spending like $800 on groceries every week or fortnight because you've got a huge brood.
Yeah.
Then of course you should have that.
Otherwise, I remember don't get it anyway.
Yeah, I remember my dad used to go through the bin for petrol vouchers at Arendelle shops.
On the bottom of the receipt.
On the bottom of the receipt. And we weren't, they had jobs, my parents. We weren't ostensibly poor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Canberra in the late 90s or mid 90s.
Yeah.
Till my brothers and we were like, oh, Dad's cheap. And then he changed his kind of ways a little bit. But he grew up. Yeah. And then, but later in life, now I've got older, I actually admire kind of his fact that he didn't give a fuck at all. And but, it was weird. It's like, dude, why are you going to do the bins? We're not not poor, but that's just you being a fucking wuss when you're younger and worried about everybody else judging you, which is horse shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you used to go through the bins. And then the main point is one day there was this woman and she tossed out her petrol voucher. And he's like, why don't you want your petrol voucher? She's like, oh, I don't want cheap petrol.
What?
Exactly. It's like, they don't change.
That was the 90s, wasn't it? By the sounds of it.
Yeah. It's like, well, they don't change your petrol up when you give them the voucher. It just fucking astounded me.
Can you get that from the cheap petrol pump?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, number 7.
It's got a little bit of water mixed in with it. Dude, that was a thing in the 90s too. A lot of the time, if you went to cheap fuel stations, you would get shit fuel. I remember when I was a kid, my old man... Because when we were younger, we had a 1986 Mitsubishi Pajero 4-wheel drive, short wheelbase. So it's only got 2 doors. And
it's not a family car.
Well, 2 kids,
So you just creep around the back door and go, yeah.
Yeah, we'd either climb over the seat and then Dad'd get the shit to be like, put the seat forward, you'll fucking wreck all the padding in the seat. You're always climbing over it with your fucking muddy boots. You know what I mean? So
just always barking at you.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. He meant well because he liked his shit to last.
Yeah. I don't think you can win as I got old. I don't have any kids, but I think as I get older, you realise now, you cannot win as a parent.
Yeah. You can only minimise the risk. It's more so risk management.
Yeah. And I think there's a whole thing sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
No, you see a lot of things with the kids now. They're all like, oh, my parents this and that, my parent, and I've done everybody, but you only get one set of parents. Yeah. So anyway, you were saying about the Pajero.
Oh yeah. So he used to do a lot of his own mechanics work at home, and whenever he'd change the fuel filter, he'd make a point of calling me over and tapping out all the stuff. And be like, see all that shit, mate? That if I didn't have this fuel filter, that would have went into the fucking into the carbies.
Yeah.
Like there'd be metal flakes and shit, because eventually those big tanks under the ground at the fuel station get bits of debris and stuff in there, and that's so it was a big thing.
No, my dad always talked about that. He always hated it, and he still hates it to this day. If I drive my car down to like he's like, you should never get your car down to like close to E, because he's like, you're just sucking up all the shit that's at the bottom of your fuel tank.
Yeah,
and you're doing yourself no favors. But he wasn't like, his dad did that to him, where he was taking apart like engines in the kitchen and like showing him all that stuff. But I never had that with him.
Yeah,
but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I've seen people washing the heads of their engines in the dishwasher before their wife gets home. Like, they're just like, oh, I just can't be fucked cleaning it. Put a bit of degreaser on there and chuck it in the fucking in the top of the dishwasher.
Yeah, my grandmother apparently used to go nuts because my grandfather would do that. She'd come home and like, you just have taken apart a fucking entire engine in like this tiny kitchen in Sydney or something. So
yeah, you were saying, I think before we had a chat about your old man. Sounds like a bit of a hard ass man. Was he like fairly tough? But you have to be if you don't care what people think about you and that sort of shit. Like, there's an element of
a bit. He's just he wasn't tough. Like, it's like when you compare something. I don't know. You compare it like, oh, was he tough? But then you think of all like the other sort of. He was certainly a disciplinarian. Like, yeah, he was an asshole in many ways. But like, in retrospect, as you get older and you start to like yourself, or you become comfortable with life or whatever, you're like, oh no, that worked out well. Like, I see why they did that. But yeah, he certainly would put the hard word on you. But then again, like, then you meet somebody you read horror stories about what people have to put up with. At the same time, he was really relaxed as well.
Yeah. Bit like my old man. He was like fair but harsh when he needed to be. Like, it was just sort of like, if something happened, he'd just be like, all right, boys, you know not to do that. And you'd be like, yeah, we know. And he'd be like, well, don't do it again. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, my dad was unpredictable, and then also...
Oh, fuck, we turned this into a therapy session.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. It's like, yeah, let's not talk about our parents. Like, he was a man. He was a person. He had good traits and bad traits, and he did his best. Could have been better in some areas. Yes, he could have. Was he great in some areas? Yes, he was.
Just a general statement.
Yeah, just an empty statement of like, yeah, look, he's still around, so let's not talk of him.
It's a bit like when
I'm going to Japan with him in July at least, so that'll
cool.
be nice. Since my mum passed away, we get along really well these days, and we decided, he always just jokes, this is his last, he was saying the other day, all the fellas were like, oh, this is our last decade. And he's like, yeah, let's choose what razor blades to slash our wrists with. Mind you, he used to always say that shit himself. Like,
even before.
He thought he was, I'll die before your mother and all this crap. He's like, just stop being a fucking miserable person. Anyway.
I feel like that comes with being like self-aware though. Like, some people are just completely like oblivious to the fact that they will die one day. And then I think that when people, like smarter people, are more in touch with like their existence and how long it'll last for. Yeah. Well, they say, I saw one of those YouTube shorts the other day. I had like some Indian mystic for a second. He's like, yeah, there's two types of people who appreciate life in the present and every moment. And then, I don't know why this came up. Fucking God knows what my algorithm is on YouTube, but it's awfully confused. And then the other part was, he's like, and then other people who just never think about that. But I don't know. Can you really know what other people think? No, people don't know what they think.
I don't know what I think sometimes. Like, sometimes it's like there was somebody talking about a boss at work in their job the other day, and they're like, my boss doesn't like to hear the truth.
Right.
And everybody's like, I speak the truth and I tell the truth. And it's like, well, yeah, that's good. And you need to. But the truth hurts as well. So if you only ever spit in truth, there's only so much people can handle before they just start to fucking fall apart as well. Because, like, whether you like it or not, there is a kind of sector level of bullshit that everybody lives with to kind of keep everything lubricated. Because if everybody was just being truthful all the time, everybody would just be a fucking fanatical lunatic. And I was like, but at the same time, that like, I'm like, well, that's kind of, your boss will get away with that short term, but long term it's not good because it means he's probably not running his business very well if he doesn't want to hear your guys' suggestions and things like that. I mean, look at this shit in Ukraine and Russia right now. Like, Ukraine is the best tank fighting country in the world. It's just like open fields. It's a big grain country.
Yeah.
And it's like all the biggest tank battles of the Second World War occurred in Ukraine, essentially. And like, the Russians are the biggest tank force in the world. And within 11 months of war, they haven't made more than 180 kilometers with, you know, like what was supposed to be a mobile breakthrough force.
Yeah.
So, and that's because everybody was lying, apparently, is the theories going around, and that they didn't bring petrol, they didn't bring food, because they were an organization where nobody actually said, listen, sir, this is a problem, we actually can't do this. He's like, nah, it's fine, it's all good. And then he goes up next, oh yeah, we can do it, fucking 188th's ready to go, no problems, mate. All right, and then all right, give us that $4 million for the, and then we'll sell it off on the side. And that's why they're in this position, and now it's just a fucking meat grinder. Can you tell, dude? I've been looking at it. I've gotten to Reddit for the first time recently, just watching. I don't know what.
You're off socials, but you're on Reddit and YouTube.
I'll log into it, or like, I don't really get involved because I'm like, it's too. You see all the people arguing, and then I get too hoity and arrogant. I'm like, what's the fucking point of even talking to anybody? I'm not going to change anybody's viewpoints here. Occasionally, I'll get myself banned by going after one person. Right. And then, like, if it's a bad day or something, I don't know, it's a bad day, but it's like, you're my target. And then, so why would you do that?
Which is probably exactly what caused the Ukraine war, just a bad day, and now they have to, like, keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, well, it seems to be a bit like that. Like, he's decided to do it. But there was, some guy kept sending me, like, suicide aware. I went after one guy on Reddit, like, a year and a half ago or something. And then I kept getting like temporary bans, and then I'd go after him like 4 days later or something, and he kept sending like Reddit kept asking me like, am I going to kill myself or is everything okay? Like, he kept putting like suicide awareness things on, and I didn't know people could do that on the internet, that like they can use these kind of policing tools of like
to troll people, basically.
Well, yeah, I was trolling him, but he didn't want to keep arguing back, so he started to do this faux compassion where it's like, oh, mate, I don't want you to kill yourself because I'm a little concerned about what you're up to. And it's like, but then again, in retrospect, it's like, why was I going at that guy so hard? Well, I wasn't going that hard. But
something that you've said on stage before that I still have playing in my mind every now and again when something happens to me in public is just, it's still in your voice, just playing in fucking constant repeat.
I hope you get rid of it soon,
Yeah, well, dude, it's a few more podcasts worth of therapy and I'll be fine. I just got to talk about my dad and shit.
How's your mother?
That's when you're just like, I remember once you're doing a bit of crowd work. I don't know if this is like a bit of work that you do. I don't want to burn out your material. But basically, you're just like, you see what we've got here is a social faux pas.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm in a situation out in public, I'm like, fuck, we've got a social faux pas here.
Yeah. Social claymore was the one that, I like poetic language, and I speak French.
Oh, yeah.
And then, not very well.
Yeah.
But I lived there for a year.
Enough to live there for a year.
Yeah. Well, I had to learn it because I was living there for 8 months, and then I knew like 2 words, and then it was a little village, so I had to learn it. Yeah. So I stumble through it now.
Yeah.
Like, the funny thing is apparently my accent's all right, the way I pronounce the words.
Okay.
But I don't understand any of the grammar or like the correct way they order their sentences. Yeah. I don't know if it's syntax.
Your natural voice is that of a French smoker, though, so that's why.
I swear to God, doing lots of drugs and smoking changed my voice. Yeah. Mind you, though, people always be like, your voice was fucking weird when I was younger.
Yeah, right.
And then I think as well, when you get on stage as a comedian, like you get, it's so uncomfortable when you start that you just start, something kind of just starts to formulate. And then you just kind of slot into something. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this feels comfortable. Well, not even feels good. This feels right. And then And I think in this age as well, especially with the fucking internet and stuff, there's so many influences coming at people all the time.
Yeah.
It's like people were doing autism tests at work the other day as a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
And one of the autism questions was like, do you quote movies all the time?
Yeah.
And I got a mate, and he's like a riff machine with movies.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he'd be like, that's like this line out of that movie. He just smokes so much, and then he'll for any situation he'll just bring a line out. Like I remember when we were younger, we were playing FIFA one day, and he used to just fucking kick my ass.
Another autism sign. Good at FIFA.
Well, yeah. And he hit the post like 9 times in the game. And like on the 9th time he hit the post, he just goes, "Oh, this place is cursed." And I burst out laughing because I remembered the mummy and that guy, and I couldn't stop laughing. And he reckons he's maybe got autism. But at the same time, I think like for all these diagnoses, and this is just me, but like it's like bipolar, right? People are like, I'm bipolar. It's like, all right, what does that mean? It's like, well, I have real highs and I have real lows. It's like, all right.
You have feelings, not by bipolar.
Well,
You know?
if they give you a diagnosis, and I understand also medically, if they give you a diagnosis or something and it helps provide, like a diagnosis is a tool. If it's a tool that helps aid you to improve your life and your personal circumstances, then go with it. But ultimately, they're just, that's doctor's words. It's somebody else giving you a label.
Yep.
Like, if you got bipolar, it's like, okay, well, I've got real highs and got real lows. It's like, well, fuck, if we were hunting for a mammoth back in the day, that'd be awesome. Like, we're going to track an animal for 6 days. I'm going to be wired for 6 days. We're going to kill it. We're going to drag the meat back to camp, and then I'm going to pass out for 6 days after eating. That's not fucking bipolar. That's being like an awesome hunter.
Yeah.
Or like you're the best berry picker in the fucking village because you're just like, and then you pass out. And then similarly, what was the first thing we were talking about? Not bipolar. Autism. It's like, oh, well, if you pick up movie stuff, it's like, or if you imitate that then it's like autism. It's like, okay, but surely that everybody just learns through osmosis and imitation anyway. Like if you're in a tribe of 100 people, like you pick up the traits of your mates as well without even thinking.
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, is it really autism? It's just like, that's just a normal human thing. Like a bird will listen to a fucking car alarm and start doing the car alarm.
Yeah.
Because nobody ever expected it to be in a position where it had to listen to a car alarm.
We had a bird in my old neighborhood that used to do when you lock the car, it used to go beep, beep. Like the fucking bird used to make it. Yeah. I used to have a bit about how I think birds have Tourette's.
I vaguely remember.
Yeah. But then I had another bit about how birds are racist because they don't know what they look like necessarily, but they know when the birds they're with don't look like them, and they tell them fuck off if they land next to them.
I haven't heard you do that.
Yeah,
bit.
So but there's so many jokes about like magpies and stuff going around that I just like kind of shied away from that and just put it on the back burner because like, I mean, every magpie season there's always a comedian that goes off about why do they swoop you sort of thing. So I just was like, I don't want to just fit into that mold of everyone else.
Yeah, I was thinking about that on the way over of like that creative part of being a comedian where it's like you're just trying to be a person talking and being relatable and just being funny, and then also like that artistic thing where you're like, ooh, trying to do something different. If it's a good joke, it's a good joke.
Yeah, true.
Like especially small town, if you're just doing it in Canberra, like and you're doing open mics, if magpies come up, talk about magpies.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you always do new stuff all the time. You've got so many jokes in your bag of tricks. I don't think you should be. I don't think anyone's. I think stuff's hacky, particularly when people are like, their career is based on hacky stuff, and they're like making lots of money off, like what is like a real. Not
trying to be
particularly
edgy.
Interesting. Well, maybe that, or not particularly interesting.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like, oh, another magpie joke.
I prefer someone that's trying to be edgy than someone that's trying to play it safe, I think. Like, there's I mean, either way, like, someone that's being fake is bad, but I've seen a few comedians that might write a good bit, but because potentially it could be offensive, they'll, like, ditch the whole joke.
Because I don't really associate with many of them, I don't worry about that anymore. And I don't listen to anybody. I sound like a cockhead, but it's true. I don't listen to anybody before I get up because I would get really in my own head before I get up.
Yeah.
Because often I come straight from work saying, what the fuck am I doing tonight? And I'm just trying to get in. And also I take it really seriously. Like you're going up there to potentially, in a good chance to make an absolute clown of yourself. And that's kind of what you should do. So get ready to clown. You know, it's like playing a game. I know it's just fucking wipe down basement, but there's always a crowd there.
Yeah.
Come out there. So fucking have a go.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just do a set and be like, that wasn't my best work.
All
you
the
just
time,
fucking
yeah.
feel that. Most of the time, actually.
The worst is when you get off and then you're like, and then all the ideas that could have added on to that idea and it flows. But that's just...
The amount of people that come up and say, can I get up again?
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I always do that too.
I think a couple times you'd be like, can I close? It's like you went up at the...
Yeah.
But that's that thing. And my first ever time doing comedy, I stepped off stage and wanted to go back. And I'm like, that's how I know that I'm into it. You know what I mean? But you're saying before about... we're talking about autism, and I did a whole, like, the intro of my previous, one of my previous episodes I did with Doug Stanhope, 82 was the episode number. We started with autism because we did it over Zoom, and he said to me at the start, I didn't include this part in the episode because we hadn't started yet. But
Did he start breaking your balls immediately?
No, he said to me, he's like, are you, like, is it recording? Is it set up? And I was just like, oh, no, I just need to, like, finish getting it ready to record. And he's like, I thought you were just having trouble with eye contact. Like, that's why I wasn't staring at the camera. Because I'm, like, looking around the screen trying to get the recording set up. I'm like, yeah, well, it could be that or it could be just autism. And then he was just like, we started the episode by talking about autism because we'd just been talking about it. And the point that he was making was, because I said there's quite a few people in the spectrum in the comedy scene, and he said, isn't one of the symptoms of autism not understanding humor? Like, wouldn't that be a problem in comedy?
Yeah.
But it just, like I said in the episode, I think that it just depends. You pick and choose what you think's funny. Sometimes you'll think some things are funny, whereas other people won't. But you tend to still have a sense of humor. It just might not be the same as everyone else's.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, what point did these diagnoses stop meaning it? But, okay, you can say there's a lot of people with autism in the scene.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people with autism everywhere now.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember somebody asked Bill Burr a question one day. They're like, oh, is it true that comedians are like sad clowns? He's like, well, maybe, sort of. He's like, there's fucking sad lawyers. There's sad bricklayers.
Yeah.
There's sad everybody. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, of course... You know, it's...
Yeah.
So
it's the only difference is we publicly talk about our feelings, whereas the bricklayer just smashes 6 beers on his lunch break.
Yeah, exactly. I met a bricklayer the other night who was a husband of a woman I worked with at one of the old hospitals, and he lovely dude. But obviously, he just, very open and just about and that's the reputation with bricklayers, about just what he'd have to smash just to get through the day, because they're just tough as.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. You're saying about hitting the post in FIFA.
Yeah.
That reminds me. I don't know if anyone follows the Canberra ice hockey scene, but there's a Canberra ice hockey team now called Brave.
No.
They used to be Knights. They changed in 2014 to Brave.
I used to play broom ball, dude.
Oh, did you? Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, I used to play for the Hornets, which is a D grade team. Yeah, when I broke my ankle playing ice hockey.
Understandable.
Yeah, it's surprising that couldn't have, like, more shit didn't happen. Actually, it's pretty full on, and I wasn't fit. I'm still not fit, but it was the only sport which I wasn't already against the curve. Like, if I decided to play basketball, I'd be always pushing shit up a hill because I'm 5'7". But with ice hockey, I was already the right build for it. So now all I needed to do was work on being good at the game. I didn't have to, like, also fight genetics as well.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's why I like soccer, man, because like I played rugby as a kid.
Yeah.
But I love in soccer that you play to the body you know, you can have a guy like Pete. I don't know if you heard Pete Crouch is, but you look at him and he played at the top level. He does not look like an athlete.
Yeah.
Like 6'8" or whatever. And then you can have a guy who's like 5'4". Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, dude, you look like a fucking international soccer player.
Yeah, it's because I'm
like...
getting these fresh fade cuts at the moment.
Yeah. You look like you've got all the cheats written on your drink bottle and shit.
Well,
I
I clean the mirrors downstairs in the apartment. They have a hair salon.
Yeah.
So they do my hair for free.
Right, yeah.
And it's like an expensive hair salon.
Yeah.
So the guy, when he's got like 4 different razors when he's doing my fade. Yeah, and you can walk out feeling like you've been transferred to Real Madrid for 40 million pounds.
So they did a come and play with the Brave thing where they got a bunch of Canberra Brave players and just had like an open rink where anyone could go and just like shoot a few pucks around with actual Brave players. And I'd only just started. I think I'd been doing ice hockey for like maybe 3 months. And Jimmy Byers, who's like 19, he's been playing since he was 4. Like his parents got him into it, and he's already at the A level. At the time he's 19, I think he's like probably mid-20s now. Anyway, I see him, and I'm just like, Jimmy, and I've got a puck.
Are you excited? Like,
ready?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, I'm about to pass to Jimmy Byers.
Yeah.
And I fucking pass it to him just real fucking like careful. And dude, he goes, oh, thanks, man. He's like super polite, soft-spoken. He's like, oh, thanks, man. And he's just like, you ready? I'll pass it back. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm about to receive a pass from Jimmy Byers, dude. He passes it to me. It hits my stick. My stick, like I'm not holding it very tight, and it moves the stick away as it hits. Like his pass moves my stick. That's how shit I was holding it. And then it deflects off the stick and goes between my legs. I try to grab it with the stick and just fall flat on my fucking face. And he just
humiliating, yeah.
Dude, and he literally just goes super calm. He's just like, oh, you'll get there, man, and just fucking skates off. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I was like, because actually I didn't land on my face, I just fell forward, but I put my hands out, and I was kind of in like a planking position, but later on, you're talking about hitting the post, dude. What they did is they lined up a bunch of pucks and were just like hitting them into the net from like the one of the lines, like about a third of the field out, slapping them in. And Jimmy comes over and he's like, yeah, guys, like it's easy to hit it into the net. Do you want to try a really good training technique? See if you can hit the post, because if you can hit the post, then the net seems easy. And they're like, yeah.
At least he's always that soft spoken, so it didn't feel like so harsh. And he's like, oh, you'll get there, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's normally just like, fuck yeah. And then like,
as a kid, when I didn't score any goals in soccer, like it was they'd always put on the thing like yet to come.
Yeah,
like, oh, thanks, yeah. Anyway,
so he lines one up, and it's a training puck, so they're like dinged up and old and that sort of shit, which probably helped what happened. So he lines it up, and they're like, all right then, Jimmy, you hit one into the post. And he goes, all right then. So he lines it up and just fucking slaps it. It hits the post so hard the puck split in half. Oof. Dude. And we're just like, everyone was like, what the fuck? So
he hit it hard and accurate, like that.
Straight in, dude.
Was he impressed with himself, though? Like, it was a bit unexpected? Or
he's fucking cool as a cucumber, dude. He skates away. He's just like, yeah, look, that's how, look, you can be lucky sometimes. It goes in, dude. And then like a few weeks later, he was at a game in Melbourne and slapped one towards the goal but missed it. And it hit the fucking, that really high impact perspex?
Yeah, yep.
It hit that and shattered it. It didn't break, but it cracked off. Like it looked like it was broken, but it stayed together because it's safety. It's just like, people are like, fuck, are we safe behind this shit? And it's like, for a normal person, yes. But for him, I can tell why he fucking can smash that shit, considering
Is he a huge fella?
No, just a fit, like, average height sort of dude. But I think it comes down to technique versus strength.
Technique's a big, like in soccer, if not very good, but if I'm shooting, sometimes you're like, oh, I'm gonna hit it as hard as I can, and it's like it's a piddling, like you've completely buggered it. And then other times you just won't think, and you just very gently, and you just feel right and you just follow through, but you barely feel like you moved your leg. And as soon as it leaves your foot, you just know. And this thing just rockets off your damn foot. And you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the strength comes in when you're powerful, but then you're doing that when you're powerful already.
Yeah.
Like if you're a big guy like Zlatan or something, you know, we talk about those soccer players where he just doesn't even, he's just relaxed and he hits it and it's still probably like,
solid, yeah.
You know, 12 times what I could hit. So,
yeah, I remember we played dodgeball in high school once, and there was one person on each side left. Everyone else was out. Mm-hmm. And it was this chick on one side that was only still in because she was up the back and everyone else was copping all the hits.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to like this gazelle versus
some huge
this fucking dude. Yeah. His name was Jonesy, Matt Jones. He was a fucking unit. And he was like one of the ones that got into bodybuilding like when he was too young to do it. So he like stunted his growth, but he was like hell solid. It was like an Oompa Loompa. Mm-hmm. And but he was solid as fuck, dude. And he fucking he kicked he threw the ball so fucking hard, dude.
He made her cry.
He missed her, but it hit the wall behind her, and it hit so hard that the teacher was just like, all right, we're going to just call it at that. It hits it's a wild time in PE, man. I remember once when we were playing dodgeball, we had this, they were all like just the yellow, like volleyballs that we're using.
Did you ever have those squishy balls?
Yeah, so we had one squishy one left over from the 90s. It's still, it's done 100 games, not out. The lad. Yeah, and it was a bit foamy, but it was like the same colour as Oscar the Grouch, dude. Mm-hmm. And it looked like him too. It was all ragged, looked like he'd been in a bin.
That fine, like, it was peeling off.
It had patina. And,
patina, yeah.
So while we're playing, we're like, Jonesy, see if you can get this into the change room. So up in the top section of the sports court was like the change rooms, and there was a gap about this big. So for the audio listeners, about half a metre. Mm-hmm. Like a little gap at the top of the change rooms, but it was on the second floor. And we're like, Jonesy, see if you can get the Oscar ball in through that gap so that we can steal it. So he fucking throws it up there, dude, and it goes in the gap. So we just leave that chilling there. So after PE, everyone goes up to the change room to get changed, and no one took it. What we did is we all stood around with our deodorant cans and sprayed it until the can ran out. So this thing was a big foam ball covered in deodorant. It was dripping wet. And then my buddy Porky, who had a Zippo lighter, fucking lit it on fire, and we kicked it around while it was fucking on fire. And then someone got hyped and fucking booted it at the wall. And I swear,
sounds awesome.
I swear this is teenage shit, dude.
How long did it last on fire?
It was, I think it's still on fire, dude. That was like 10 years ago. And there was like
it's a good idea.
There was a splodge on the wall where it started to melt. Someone kicked it at the wall, and there was like a big green splodge on the wall from where the ball was melted and hit the wall.
Yeah.
And then, Porky just got way too fucking hyped. He got it in another deodorant can, busted the top off it, and then lit the fucking flame that was like the spray that was coming out, and threw it into the room like a grenade. And we all fucking ran out half changed, trying to put our pants up and shit. And we get out of the room, and we just hear it go fucking bang. Yeah, so the teacher would have walked in there, would have been exploded fucking deodorant can and Oscar the ball just fucking on fire still.
Did they get you in trouble for it with the ball?
The problem was it was a whole...
Yeah, it was a whole class.
And no one admitted shit.
Yeah.
That's old school shit, man. No one spoke to the teachers. You just fucking did it. No one said shit.
Yeah, they used to always put the hard word on me.
Yeah. Come on, Dom, you know. You know what happened. That's what they do, right? They're like, Dom, you can tell us. It's all right. You won't get in trouble. Tell us and you won't.
Oh, no, because they knew my parents, because my mum was a teacher.
Yeah,
so she always sided with the teachers. My dad was fucking like a disciplinarian in the army. Anyway, but they're, I remember that shit in school all the time, the change rooms. Mm. And like, we like potato guns. Brothers made potato guns, and then we used to get like a bow and arrow with a proper arrow, and we just used to shoot it up into the air in the oval, and we would just run around. and then like the arrow would be like dunk. Oh, this is fucking funny.
That's so
It's
wild,
so
dude.
dumb. And then like one day, like
Actual
my brother's
arrow.
mate Ricky was like trying to like hit a bird with the bow and arrow because like we were making bow and we had to cut down all these trees in the backyard and we started like, oh, let's make bows and arrows out of these things. And we like really got into it and we like with our neighbors and we like started whittling these things down and putting string worked to right. And then there was this elderly couple in the neighborhood who saw us making bows and arrows. They're like, oh, well, have this. And it was just like a long piece of green fiberglass with like a red bike handle on it. And then like you would...
Like a push bike handle just on the...
Kind of like that. Yeah. Somebody had made it, but it was a fucking real bow.
Yeah.
But and then you string it up and you'd have this piece of like this fucking solid piece of fiberglass bow. So, and then we're like, oh, let's go and get some real arrows. And then he was trying to shoot this bird with the arrow, and then like he was tracking this bird one day, and then he released it on the oval, and some woman was walking with her pram. I'm not gonna say it almost hit her, but like she was walking the pram, and the bow was, the arrow like was just in the ground next to her. Like to say she was like not impressed, to say the least, it would be an understatement. Yeah, that's a good idea with the fluff. Like no one ever thought of that. Get one of those foam balls and soaking it in deodorant and fucking lighting it on fire and then kicking it around.
It was a wild time, dude.
Yeah. And everyone would have been giggling their asses off.
Yeah, it was just everyone's just fucking like.
Anyone burn their feet?
Nah, dude, we just no one even considered whether that would be an issue. Like being young was one of those things in high school where people were just like, yeah, I suppose if you brought it to my attention, I would have been worried about it. But at the time, we're just like, fuck yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, you just get involved. I feel sorry for these kids these days, man, because I get the impression they don't do that shit at all. Like
there's always a rat. There's always one. It only takes one person to dob them in, and that fucks the whole thing.
Well, they'll always they're so level-headed that they don't seem to get up to silliness.
Yeah, they actually consider, wait, there's danger involved in this. Yeah. Whereas I think that it's one of those things that's only fun if everyone just does it without thinking. Like there's an element of fucking stupidity to it where you just sitting there like, and you need that element to not be worried. It's a bit like when people...
You can't know any better and everybody sort of knows better now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if someone's having a bad trip, like the only reason that started the bad trip is they fucking realized they were having a trip. Like if you don't realize that you're in danger, you have fun.
Yeah, I've never had that issue.
I don't do drugs, but like I've been a bartender for like 10 years. You occasionally get that one person, even not just like drugs, but like alcohol, where they'll just have that one extra drink, and before you know it, they're like, "Man, I really loved that chick, man. Why did she leave me?" And you're just like, "All right, that's enough for you." Like it's just that one too many.
Yeah. But that's also why you do it, so you can unadulteratedly like get that shit out.
True.
Like better out than in, and it's like, oh, well, sorry bartender, but you're gonna cop it now. Man, I really fucking love it. Yeah.
She was going to be the mother of my kids.
But like, I've never lost my mind. People would sometimes call me like, "Oh, dude, I just took acid." Somehow I became the acid guy or something. And like,
the acid man.
And then it was just okay. Well, no matter what would happen, it would be like, oh, there could be that crazy thing that you're thinking. Or it could be the fact that 4 hours ago you took a really powerful psychedelic drug and maybe that's influencing your thought process. And they're like, oh, yeah, that could be it. Like, it will end. Like, and sometimes, yeah, you have like real dark thoughts, like that scene in like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas where he like, someone brought up to me the other day because they're talking about it. I said, I was trying to pretend like I didn't know what they're talking about. But they're, that scene where like he's looking at everybody in the Las Vegas bar and he's like, oh, and everybody just looks ugly. It's like a dinosaur drinking a drink. Like that can be a bad moment.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of just, you're like, oh, what a buzz. Just tripping out of your mind.
Yeah.
Like,
it's I won't burn the bit, but you've got that bit about how like everyone is like when they're on drugs, they're talking about all the world issues and shit. But it's just like maybe the real issue is we're all on drugs like that.
Yeah.
Like it's like, but no one wants to address that. They'd prefer to talk about all the other things in the world than the fact that like they're just sitting there doing nothing but doing drugs.
Yeah, it's that you see that stuff on YouTube all the time. Sometimes you get into arguments with people. They're like, they can't wrap their heads around It's like some guy the other day, he's like, oh, the rulers of the world. Like, no, and so, okay, yeah, they do get together at Davos and like decide shit. But you ever worked so many jobs and then notice as you got old as well, you had that moment where you expected to meet the adults in the room.
Yeah.
And then you never did. And then you realize it's just usually like a whole bunch of incompetence and chaos on top of one another. And like more often it's stupidity more than, well, I guess stupidity might be a form of maliciousness.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, they're making schemes and plans, but like the idea that it's all going according to their plan is insane. It's like COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
People are like, oh, people made money off COVID, which is, you know, of course they did.
Yeah.
If you have like, if you're Mark now,
yeah.
and we're in this office, except you got $15 million in the bank,
yeah.
and you know there's a pandemic coming in, and you can be like, and you're not going to work every day because you don't need the money, and then you're like, you can get on your computer and go, oh, well, pandemic, oh, major pharmaceutical companies, oh, yeah, well, maybe I'll just shift a couple of million into this company and see what happens.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to do that. It's just the nature of the system.
Yeah, just because someone's making money doesn't mean that it was some malicious plan for them to make money. It could be just coincidental.
Yeah, profiteers profit.
Yeah.
And there's so many people in the fucking world. Like,
scared money don't make money. How's that for a fucking quote?
Scared money don't make money?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's how the system's arranged. That makes sense. I love learning about new sayings. I'd love to have like a big, gigantic book that has like all the sayings from all the cultures in the world. You know, like a broken clock's right twice a day.
Yeah.
Only stalking aphorisms and sayings. You'd just be the most annoying person. Like,
I remember once this guy at one of my old jobs tried to tell me like a saying. But he like translated it from wherever, like the other country.
Those ones are fun, yeah.
It did, and it just made no sense because he just was trying. This is the saying he says to me. He's just like, "Well, you know, there's a saying where I come from. You can't get a camel into the hut without getting it to duck first."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get what you're saying.
But I don't have a lot of experience with camels. Or tents.
Or huts.
Or huts, yeah. I think I can conceptually, yeah.
Yeah, like as just like a white dude that's always lived in Australia, I'm like, oh, is that like Jabba the Hutt or what? Like,
yeah,
what?
Jabba the Hutt, what? Dude, imagine trying to translate, we're not here to fuck spiders.
Yeah, imagine that.
Like, what?
But also, like, it doesn't make sense to people that know what that means. I know what it means.
Yeah.
I just don't know why the fuck that even came about. I mean, the last thing I want to think about is a spider anywhere near my dick. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, just big old fucking huntsman, just hairy legs.
Which is dumb. We're not here to do nothing.
Yeah.
We're not here to do nothing that makes no sense.
That's
like
the point of it, right? Yeah.
And it's just that absurdity of humor. It's like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Okay, we're not here to do ridiculous things.
King Parrot has merch with that on there.
We're not here to fuck spiders.
Yeah. They have good merch, yeah.
I like that one where they, I think it's shit on the liver.
Yeah.
And they got the little parking inspector skit at the start. Nice cup of Bonnix. And, you know, go talk to him. Talk tight to him. And, yeah, and they go out and then it's like, oh.
We've had a good day. Don't let him ruin it.
Yeah. We've had a good day, Matthew. Don't ruin it. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, King
Parrot. And he goes out, yeah.
The other one is another good song they've got is 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag.
5-pound bag. What's the skit at the start of that one?
Where they're just giving someone shit giving Slats shit as he's walking down the street or something. Yeah, you look like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, mate. Yeah.
I think that's got some of the riffs in it I like.
I've had Slats on the podcast before as well. The
singer?
No, he's the
bass player?
guitarist, yeah. One of the original members, yeah.
The fat fella, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a moment like in that
good.
Bozo clip and he just pauses, he's like, sound fucking beautiful. As usual. Yeah.
Or there's the other clip they've got about, it's a rip-off on The Shining. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen that one, yeah.
And
Skitsy's in that one.
Yeah,
he's
on
a little tricycle.
Yeah. Or so the guitarist fucking axes the door down at the end.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he's like, well, what's he saying? Yeah.
Instead of saying...
How's it going?
Yeah, he's, how you fucking going?
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of Here's Johnny.
You always were an arsehole, Mr. Slattery. Yeah. He's playing the bartender.
Yeah, that's it.
When's the last time you fucking had any fun? Yeah.
Yeah, you're not living till you shit yourself.
yeah, just like an old...
Yeah, dude, people should listen to King Parrot if they haven't already. Those clips are fucking awesome. But I told a couple stories before. Let's do our story time segment, see if we can get a fucking...
Sure.
Get it up. All right, I'm going to play the theme tune. Let's get into it.
Come on, grab your friends. We're all...
I already forgot this one.
Okay. The fun will never end. It's...
Story time.
There we go.
I didn't expect you to ad-lib or a cappella the theme.
Yep, well, it's story time.
Story time.
I told a couple of stories. I had the one about Jimmy Byers with the puck and also the dodgeball in school. Do you have any like of the go-to stories?
No, I'm a bad storyteller. Genuinely, I think I'm a bad storyteller. Until if you get a few drinks with me and I'm a bit stoned,
Yeah.
and I can all of a sudden remember something, then I'll tell a good story. But on the spot, I'm not very good at telling stories, so this is a good time for story time.
I've got one to get us into it. I'll
Yeah,
tell you about.
do that.
I went. So I mentioned my buddy Porky who had the Zippo before. Mm-hmm. Now, I remember one time we went on the bus to go and check out go to a school excursion. Porky was known for like trying to fit in, be the cool guy. He was a chubby kid, that's why they called him Porky. He pukes on the bus. That's a whole story, right? Now, it's a bit I do on stage. I'm not going to tell that full story. But off the back end of that, once he finally gets over the shame of puking, we get back to school, right? It's been like a couple months. People stop giving him shit for puking on the bus. It's all forgotten because we're talking about school kids and how brutal they can be. Dude, we get back to school. He decides that he's going to go partake in some curricular activities before class. Basically go and smoke some weed over at the thing. Or maybe just cigarettes. I don't fucking know. Because remember in high school when even smoking cigarettes was edgy? Like people would have to go hide.
Yeah,
they had to go run away from the school.
There was a group, and some of them were my friends, but then sometimes they're the smokers.
They had like a
I kind of envy them in retrospect because like all people would come into their little thing, they had their own little thing over there.
Well, there was a grandstand near our school. It was part of a showground that was just over the road. And what they did, 'cause stoners and fucking cigarette smokers and shit back in the day were super fucking innovative. So they ripped up some floorboards and made like a little fucking hideout under the grandstand. So they'd go up to the top of the grandstand, pull these floorboards aside, and there was like a couple old mattresses and shit down there, and they'd just sit around down there.
Yeah.
Now, old mate Porky's done whatever he's going to do before school. Problem is, because it's before school, he's rushed it. So he's just charged like a bunch of nicotine before class. We're in roll call. And remember, not but 2 months ago, this guy puked on the bus and never heard the end of it. Teacher's like, says his name. And he's just like, yep. And everyone looks at him and he's like,
You're white as a ghost. Yeah.
And then just fucking pukes all over the desk, dude. And just when we thought he'd lived it down, it was back again. So, yeah, that was his Porky story.
Why was it such like, it's just because was there something about his character that made the puking worse?
Yeah, because he was a chubby fucker.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're a fucking chubby kid, you're already going to cop shit. Like, people are going to be like, well, we ever tried not eating so much? You know, like, if you're the guy, if you're the fat guy that pukes at school. Hey, shout out to Porky, though. I don't know if he still, if he listens to this sort of stuff. I might have him on Facebook and maybe he's on it. I don't know. Bottom line is, the dude, I seen him after school, lost a bunch of weight, fucking trim, lean mean fight machine. Ready to rock. So.
Yeah, there was a guy like that in high school. He was really fat in high school, and then he got super slim afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, felt fuck, I don't
They're
know.
always runners, aren't they? They always fucking get into marathons and shit. That seems to be the first sign of someone that is losing weight.
I reckon that shit's unhealthy, man, doing a marathon. Like, because you see marathon runners, their heart gives out on them.
Yeah. They shit themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
They
Yeah,
actually
it's
do,
just,
yeah.
like, destroying their body. Like,
Fuck that, dude. If I shit myself, I'm not running another 15Ks.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh, I'll just wipe that one and keep going. Like, no.
Just fucking...
Yeah, everyone's into David Goggins at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay hard. Yeah.
Just listening to podcasts about fucking being like alpha and all that shit.
Yeah, being a better man. The algorithm's got me because, and it's just like, that's why I don't have Instagram and shit, because you can just fucking feed. It's like, I watched 35 inspirational clips. Better watch one more inspirational clip. It's like, in the time that I've watched all these inspirational clips, I've done absolutely fucking nothing, and I'm feeling like incredibly uninspired with myself. Like it's like a drugs, dude. It's just like it's the illusion of like, I'm getting heaps done. Well, at least for me, when I smoke weed, I can be really productive, but it's this illusion of like, I'm getting heaps done. And then
that's a good fucking story. So my uncle used to get high before he'd do football practice. Mm-hmm. And he thought that he used to train really well when he was stoned. Yeah, dude. Yeah. And then he thought to himself, I know, I will get high before a game. If it works in practice, it's going to work in a game as well, dude. So he gets fucking stoned to the gills and rocks up to play a game. Half time happens, they switch sides. He gets the ball and runs the wrong way. And no one's trying to tackle him, and he's so stoned, he's just going, dude, no one wants to touch me. I'm such a fierce machine.
Yeah. Such a fierce beast.
And everyone's shouting out to him, you go the wrong way. And he thinks they're cheering him on because he's about to try. He slams the ball down, turns around, and everyone's just fucking sitting there gobsmacked. End of the year, they give him a trophy.
Yeah,
it's a football boot painted gold on a plaque. And then he got a second trophy, which was a football boot painted red, called the blood boot, for the most amount of fights.
It was, a hothead sort of guy.
Yeah. So most amount of fights for the year, and also the golden boot for the running the ball the wrong fucking way.
I've done that so many times playing well, get whacked, and it either goes two ways. You either get in that flow state, and you're like, well, in your own mind at least, you're like, I'm untouchable, and you can play really well, or it's like that, you're just a complete, you're on drugs. And not in a good way. I blew out my knee twice playing soccer. I had 2 knee reconstructions. That could be a story, but is it? Next time I come on, I'll drink.
Yeah. We'll do a drunk episode.
Drunk? Yeah. I don't know. It was a thing. I have plenty of
Tell
stories.
us your knee story. Tell us that one.
I came back from Melbourne where I've been doing comedy down there, and I was not healthy, and I was just, soccer was the only thing I was really enjoying, and I just played one day. And then I've never broken a bone in my life, not got injured. I thought I was indestructible. And then just one day I just changed direction, and then you hear the ligament pop.
Was it the ACL?
Yeah, and you always hear about people doing their ACL.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a little steel cable popping.
Yeah.
That's how fucking strong the ligament is. It takes a couple of kilonewtons, whatever the measurement is to break it.
Kilonewtons. That sounds like an evil scientist.
Newtons, yeah.
That's like the combat against Tesla. The kilonewtons.
Takes 9 Teslas and 4 Pythagoras's to break a ligament. And it snaps.
Kilonewton.
and you can hear it pop, but then it does, and then I screamed because your body immediately goes, you've done something really bad.
Yeah.
But that doesn't hurt because there's no nerve endings in the thing, but your knee just blows up and swells up.
Right.
And then a woman took charge and carried me off the field, which added to the humiliation. Not that there was anything wrong with that, but she was this very boisterous female manager on this team of men's. Right. And
she had
then I was ready just to kind of hop my way off, and then she just kind of scooped me up like a small child.
Carried you
and carried me off.
Like Trunchbull from Matilda, some big...
Yeah, exactly like that,
Yeah.
So it's like, you could have just at least given me the dignity after
she's
just gently kind of hugging you and hopping off.
She won hammer throw in 1986.
Yeah, exactly like that, yeah. Good lady, though. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, she's one of those alpha fucking. She gets something out of managing a team of blokes.
Oh.
She's like some soccer dominatrix.
That you wouldn't want her to be in a better tight level. She was just like one of those old kind of like good Aussie
Salt
birds.
of the earth.
Yeah, salt. Yeah. Just,
It's been working at Ozpost for 46 years.
Exactly, yeah. You got it right with a hammer throw, the Ozpost, and she just teaches the boys football. And she was on the opposing side as well, so God knows why she was scooping me up.
Yeah, she had a thing for she's like, it's like the injured bird thing. Like...
No, I didn't particularly feel like feeling like a small little injured sparrow. Anyway, and then I went to the physio. They put a ligament in, and then I was still a little bit wide.
They put
all the
a
time.
ligament in.
Well, they take a bit from your hamstring. They take one of your tendons from your hamstrings. They fold it up, and then they drill holes and they stick it into where your ACL is because and then the idea is that the body will take that flesh, it will die, but then it's going to remodel it into a similar style of collagen to a ligament.
Right.
But the thing is there's like nerves in that ligament as well, and it doesn't come back. Well, that's the theory.
But better than nothing.
Well, better than nothing because the body can't, because you've torn it, the body can't create a scaffold to rebuild the ligament.
Right.
It happens, but they're like medical marvels, and they happen... Right. By and large, it does not happen.
Yep.
99% of the time.
They can't bank on you being the 0.1%.
Yeah, less. Yeah. I mean, there's stories where people, they have the x-rays and they go, there's no ACL in there. And then like years later, they come back and it's like, there's an ACL in there. And anyway, so they did that. And then one day I was so eager to play again, but I wasn't ready. And then I was like, I'll play goalkeeper, stupidly. And then the ball came rolling back and I couldn't pick it up. I'm like, shit, I got to boot it away. So I booted it, landed on my kicking leg, and the leg wobbled out from under me. I was like, oh. And then I went back to my physio and she did the whole test. And she's like, I think the ACL's still there. Okay. Anyway, and then it just never kind of get better. And then I was just trying to really work through it. I get whacked out of my mind so I wouldn't feel anything and just try to keep playing. And then one day I just like, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it and try to dribble around this guy. Went to dribble around this guy and you see this like slide into the knee, the two butts and the knee joint, like, that didn't feel good. And then I went in and then like I tore a bit of the meniscus, and then they did the x-rays again and my doctor was like, yeah, you know that ACL I put in there? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that hasn't been in there for quite some time. I'm like, right. So off. And then I'm like, it must have been when I kicked it and I flopped out as goalkeeper. So we went through the whole process again, and then they took a tendon from my other leg this time. But now I play 2 seasons school because I played soccer as a kid, but I wasn't very good at sport growing up. But then I kind of got all right at sport when I started taking drugs, oddly. A rare case of that not working out like how where everybody says. So now that's one of my favourite things to do is to play soccer. But
yeah,
I wish I could remember. There's countless stories like that where like you're saying with your uncle before, where he gets whacked before a game and like you just do something completely stupid. Or
but dude, that happens all the time in sports. Like people fuck themselves up, think she'll be right. Like I've heard of people that like, I fucking cannot watch. There's a certain type of video I can't watch on the internet. Like I'm pretty good with most gore or all that shit, you know. Someone will send you a random beheading video and you're like fucking gnarly.
Yeah. I can handle that these days, but I used to get real cross in the past. But don't send me that shit, man. I don't fucking know.
I fucking used to be like that as well. Mine
but you do get jaded as you get a bit older, huh?
Yeah. It takes me more to get off now. You know what I mean?
I don't know if it's something about hitting 30. I mean, I'm still young, so can't talk like that. But like, it's almost as if like your neurochemistry is just kind of like just begins to fry out, or your brain just adjusts, where you just don't get that like visceral. Not visceral. You get that huge spike of everything through your mind. You're like, I can't handle that. Can't watch that. You're just like, that's.
But eventually the synapses burn out and you have no dopamine left, and you still feel something when you see that shit. But Like,
look for more extreme videos.
the videos I can't watch is when someone's on the leg press and they fucking bend their knees back the wrong way.
Well, I haven't seen one of those, but that sounds fucking awful.
Yeah, because when I used to go to the gym all the time, but I don't go anymore. There was this thing about don't fucking fully extend your legs. Keep them, even at the end of your rep, you should still have your knees slightly bent. And it's literally for that, because once you put weight on that leg press, if you fucking push it all the way out and hyperextend your legs, then there's a chance that you could fucking do like
you can
damage.
just kind of tick it over and then all the way. Oh, well, thanks for telling me, because I only started to do. Some guy left his weight belt at soccer the other day.
Yeah.
So I had it with him. I had to give back. I was at the gym and I put that on.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, because I've had hernias, had a hernia, you didn't feel like you're gonna blow your guts out. I sat on that leg press sled. And I was doing like 300 kilos or something stupid.
Yeah.
For me, because I don't think I got big legs. But yeah, I was doing that. I was fully extending, but I can see that you go all the way out.
Too far, you're done.
And then you could just click it over and
fuck yeah, dude. It's a bit like the
soccer ones when you see people's knee go the other way.
Yeah,
and then they look at it and they start touching there and they're just an absolute horror.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Well, it doesn't sound like you've got the makings of a soccer player with the same haircut as you, because normally any little flick or injury on the field, they'd be fucking screaming.
Yeah, it's fucking.
That'd be hard. You've got to like play it up even if it doesn't hurt, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's a big. That annoys me, man, when I watch elite soccer, because I love the game, but I understand why people hate the game because of that stuff.
Yeah.
Eventually, when you play it and you learn to appreciate the little things, like with any sport, you go, okay, well, you can brush that aside. But like when you see a guy who's fitter than God, come on as a sub.
I think God would be unfit, dude. That cunt doesn't do shit. He'd just sit there watching. He's eating fucking M&Ms and stuff. Another fucking.
He's fitter as a fiddle, fitter than a fiddle, and they come on. You're right, yeah, and then.
No, the fiddles are the ones that run the churches. They're the fiddles. The fiddlers.
Yeah.
Fit as a fiddler.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I wonder if they have that problem in synagogues or mosques.
Probably not. You'd think that that's where it'd be more rampant, because they spend a lot of time bending over.
Well, they probably just... Well, is it only... Like, it's mainly Catholics.
Yeah, I think it is mainly Catholics.
I mean, like, you always hear that stuff about, like, religious people, like, sexual deviancy, some sort of Christian
they have nun
evangelicals.
fantasies.
Like, I hate homosexuals, and then he's, like, caught, like, fucking gay prostitutes or something in like,
yeah, well, that's
Oklahoma
because he's lying to himself. And
like some huge, weird, fucking cognitive dissonance thing that this guy's made his entire life about. I fucking hate the gays.
Yeah, anyway, R.I.P. pal. Yeah, fucking.
Yeah, I saw those articles.
Imagine fucking going to the cunt's funeral and stuff.
There was a comedian in Melbourne who talked about, like, he went to those schools that Pell went to, and
was that Butterfield? Isaac Butterfield talk about that?
No,
he's a Melbourne comedian.
No, it was Frank. He used to be here in Canberra, but maybe before your time, Frank. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Anyway,
yeah,
Frank somebody, and I saw him again in Melbourne. Really intense fella, but he went to those schools, and I think he might have been a victim, or he overheard the victims. He was adamant.
Yeah,
he was absolutely adamant about all that shit.
I can't fucking believe it, man. That like people actually like openly went to the funeral and shit. Like, it's so crazy that.
Well, some people believe genuinely that, like, he get the impression, this is what my rationale would be for those people, that he was a victim of some sort of, like, conspiracy to destroy him or the church.
Yeah, which is just some bullshit fucking cover up. Like, there's a band in Canberra called Inhuman Remnants. They've got a shirt called Pell in Hell. And they released that when he first got convicted, and I don't think that they have any left, but they had this really cool design of hell, like Pell in Hell.
One of my favourite albums growing up was Ex-Horta, Slaughter in the Vatican.
Yeah.
And they got that fucking album cover where it's like two guys dragging the Pope out into the street in like St. Peter's Square.
So many cool bands have covered all that sort of shit off, which is rad. But you were saying before about before we got into that, there was a point.
Oh, yeah. You guy, I was just saying sport. You see this guy come on as a substitution in a game.
Yeah.
And, maybe the coach just told him to jog, but you just see them, like, not working.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting because one of my favourite players in Arsenal was Alexis Sanchez.
Okay.
And he grew up in this part of Chile, and I had a lot of Chilean mates in Melbourne, and they're like, dude, the part of Chile he comes from is, like, rough. And then you look it up on Google, and it's, like, this fucking old-ass corrugated island, like, lunar landscape mountain town. Apparently, when he went to Barcelona, despite he speaks Spanish, everyone thought he was, like, kind of half retarded or something, because that's how thick his accent is.
Fuck yeah.
But he had to do, like, backflips as a kid for coins and stuff, but he played just like an animal. And then there's that guy, Jamie Vardy, who won with Leicester in that unexpected win. Yeah. And I used to ask him, and they were like, well, why do you run? Or what's your routine? He's like, at night, I have a little glass of port, and then I go to bed, and then I have an omelette in the morning, and then I have a Red Bull, and then he puts some snuff tobacco in his gum. Yeah, because it's a stimulant you can use as an athlete that's not banned.
Yeah, right.
And he would just run like an animal, and they're like, well, why do you run so hard? And he's like, well, till the age of 24, because he's one of those rare cases of a guy who came late in life into elite sport. He's like, until the age of 24, he's like, I was waking up at 4 a.m. to go to a factory to make medical splints, and now I'm like getting selected for England. Yeah. He's like, and I think my point is, I think there is a big thing with that mental game where it's like talking with the bricklayers before. Yeah, you feel like, oh, I can't do it. It's like, you got more to draw upon than what you think. Now, is that sometimes ultimately harmful? I don't know, but yeah, like you can do horrible shit to your body.
Yeah, man, and like, so you're right. Like, I think that because it's more funny to share all the videos of people like taking a dive in soccer than the times when they've been tough as fuck and it doesn't.
But they're not really tough. It's fucking annoying. They are soft.
Yeah.
But the thing is, soccer, one of the things that gets you is like you don't know where the challenges are coming from.
Right.
And like challenges in soccer can fucking hurt. Do you know what annoys me? He's like, I'll put on big fuck off kid shin pads or like ankle guards and everything. Yeah. And I feel good in those. But then you see guys like, they put like little they see them like get on, they got like the socks and they put like little teacup shin pads on. It's like, well, and then they complain. It's like, well, maybe if you put some real proper fucking shin pads in your socks, you wouldn't be complaining so much when you got kicked. Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like you can get kicked and it hurts and there's studs and there's an angle and you're going full pelt because, and then you're clipped from this way and you can see some awful injuries occur where people snap their legs and stuff.
Yeah, spiral fractures and stuff, yeah.
But, it's like in rugby, you run into a challenge and you're kind of hunched and you're ready for it and it's in front of you. Like AFL looks brutal to me because you don't know where when like someone gets a whiplash challenge in AFL, they catch a ball and then some dude just comes in behind and clears them out and they've got a huge whiplash. It's kind of like in rugby, like you need to be consistently tough, but it's just like, I'm hitting that wall, I'm hitting that wall, I'm hitting that wall. But no, in soccer they're just, and the thing is the refereeing is often so bad that it's just, and the pressure on them to win is so high that there is sometimes in soccer you get clipped and it is a foul, and then you're like, all right, well, I'm going to go down to get the foul. Yep. But like the way they do the acting, the histrionics, and the cheapness of like, and there's cameras on them, and it's just like, dude, we can see you being a shit cunt. Like,
yeah. Like, yeah, I've seen some great videos. Of
the women do it less, man. That's what one of the cool things about women's football is. It's like, I don't know if it's got like a chip on their shoulder or they got something to prove or
they're
just they don't need to, but you know how it is. Like,
too many. They don't like the reputation, maybe.
Yeah. So they do that stuff less, where you just see less like really cheap diving.
Yeah, taking a dive. But yeah, wait, that brings us to an hour, man. Let's wrap it at that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That went pretty quickly.
Yeah. So cheers for being on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
We'll get you. We'll do another episode down the track, man.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But episode 85 with Dom, and I've got this one comes out just before the Canberra Comedy Festival date, so I've got a gig on the 22nd of March in the Canberra Comedy Festival with Jeremy Smith. And also,
Go see Mark. He works hard all the time, doing lots of gigs. Be good, fun.
Yeah,
real good fun. I saw him at Smith's the other night. It was really good.
It was, I got a clip from that on socials. So, there's that. And then also, I have my 30th birthday roast at the basement on the 30th of March. I'm doing a birthday roast.
I'm going to write that down.
And yeah, we'll be able to check that one out. So yeah, cheers everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks for having me, man.
Peace. Don't buy me a drink. Just name names.
Yeah, right. Big Tony. You'll get fucking thrown out.
A strip club with your floppy disk.
All day.
Make people feel shame for shit all day.
Don't blow
Turn it
it.
into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. You'll get fucking weird
Keep it simple. Count your money.
That they're not proud of.
Just give me $10.
All right.